Good afternoon. My name is Ryan Fitzpatrick. This is Joshua Cornelis. Our team name is Artemis, the smart car seat. Now, the problem we want to address is heat stroke deaths in infants. In the United States, since 1998, there's been roughly 700 infant deaths attributed to heat stroke. That's roughly 35 per year, but it's a vastly underreported statistic because the victims' names and ages are often redacted from public record because they're juveniles. It's a particularly pervasive problem because it's completely preventable. Parents forgetting their kids in the car, it's completely preventable. And children don't have the ability on their own to exit a vehicle, nor do they have the ability to withstand exposure to high temperatures for long periods of time. Now, the durable baby goods industry, which are car seats, cribs, strollers, it's a $6 billion industry, and 20% of that, 1.2 billion-ish, is attributed to car seats and their accessories. The United States Department of Agriculture estimates that parents ages 25 to 44 spend roughly $13,000 per child on durable baby goods for the first 2 years of a child's life. And that expenditure, that $13,000 expenditure, is the highest amount they spend in the durable baby goods industry over the course of their child's lifetime. Now, comparing that to our heat stroke problem, 75% of our heat stroke victims fit in that age group, ages 0 to 3. That's 75% of all the victims that pass away from this terrible tragedy. Now, we surveyed parents in that age bracket, 25 to 44, and 70% said they would use a device, if there was one available, that reminded them that a child was in the vehicle. 100% of them say that they currently do not use one. And when asked why not, they stated they either wouldn't forget their child in the vehicle or they didn't know if the technology existed. But I'm here to tell you that it does exist. There are technologies out there that claim to do this. There are some made by car seat manufacturers where the child reminder device is hardwired into the car seat itself. But the problem with that is it's hardwired into the car seat itself. Car seats are very expensive. Children grow at a very rapid rate, and the paradigm in families in the United States today is not to have 4 or 5 children. It's usually 1 or 2 children. Car seats aren't being as reused. It's not portable car seat to car seat. There are some portable and mobile car seat reminder devices. Many of them require professional installation to come at a high cost, roughly $100 per device. There also are some that are fob-oriented and mobile, meaning they're mostly proximity-based. So driver stops the car, gets out of the vehicle. When they get a certain distance away from the vehicle, an alarm goes off, regardless of whether the child is in the car or not. It's a huge problem with that because that creates many false positives. What ends up happening is that drives the user burden up while driving the user experience down because it doesn't actually detect the presence of a child. The issue with that is people end up turning that alarm off because it goes off so much. Now, our solution to this problem is going to be a 2-part device, 2-part portable device. The first part is going to be a pressure sensor. The second part is going to be a vehicle integration device. So the pressure sensor, think of that as a small pad that you put underneath the child that gives feedback only when the child is present in the car seat. The vehicle integration device uses the onboard diagnostic system, which is in every car since the 1980s. Think of that as the control center where the car gives you, the driver, messages about the status of your vehicle. Think of, you leave the car, the key's in the ignition, you open the door, and it starts beeping, right? Now, using that combination of the device and the onboard diagnostic system, we'll be able to detect driver departure as well as presence of a child. And what really separates our product is not that. It's that we will take action should the child be in danger using a 3-tier notification system. The first tier is when you stop the vehicle. There's an auditory reminder that there is a child in the vehicle. Should the driver exit, the second tier would be automatically honking the horn for either the parent, caregiver, or anyone in the area to notify them that there is a child still in the vehicle. And the third would be a distress call to 911, primary responder, secondary responder, GPS coordinates of where the car is and the type of car it is. Now, we want to use a direct sales approach via our website that we will host ourselves and also work with boutiques and local boutiques to get this product on the shelves in a local area. We'd also work with fire departments and police departments for community outreach, as well as establish a line of communication with car seat manufacturers and vehicle manufacturers. As far as our future resources and what we'd like to do, we'd like to establish a working prototype. We're going to work on utilize our software development experience. We're both graduate computer science majors. And we'd also like to evaluate the hardware we will need for this type of product. As far as our team dynamics, we're a locally based team. We live here, we work here. Joshua is a software developer at MITRE. I'm a police officer in Nashville, New Hampshire. We're both graduate students here that's still finishing our degrees. And our professor that's monitoring this project has allowed us to, should we be fortunate enough to further this, get graduate directed site credits. So we thank you very much for your time, and we'll open that up to questions. Sure.
Okay.
Okay, can you describe, just describe the form factor of the product? I mean, is it a device that fits under the seat on the dashboard?
That's
What
correct.
does it
So,
look like?
think of a heating pad, if you will. You know, a heating pad you plug in, you put it behind you.
Yeah.
Similar to that, it's a similar type of felt pad. That goes underneath the child. It doesn't have wires sticking out of it or anything like that. That goes underneath the child in the car seat. Now, separate from that is a small chip that will plug into the onboard diagnostic system, which is just underneath the steering column. Those are the two parts.
So you folks may be familiar with Progressive Insurance. They have a program where they send you a small device that plugs into the OBD2 port and kind of monitors your driving habits. So that's the vehicle integration component that we talk about. So that would kind of be the brain of our system, which could make the distress call, determine that the child is in danger, make the distress call, and coordinate with the pressure pad that senses the child is present to reduce the false alarms.
Did you say, I didn't think you said it, but I thought I saw that you said you can lower the windows automatically
Yes.
through that with the car off?
Yes. So there are a number of modules, electronic modules in modern vehicles. So there's a 12-volt power coming from the OBD port that our device will be plugged into. We communicate using something they call CAN. It's this bus technology. So we can send message to those various modules, things like honk the horn to set off the horn relay, flash the lights, and some cars, if equipped, would have the ability to roll down windows to give the child air.
And how would you monitor for temperature?
So, as far as monitoring temperature, almost 2/3 of all the heating that will take place in a vehicle that's left unattended occurs within the first 20 minutes.
Okay.
So at that point, past the 20-minute mark is when it becomes dangerous. So I know that doesn't seem like a very long time, but it could be an 80-degree day, and after 20 minutes that car will be about 110 degrees. And 80 degrees is pretty hot, but fairly comfortable. Imagine if that was a 100-degree day. It'll get up to 130, 140 degrees. So it's really within that 20-minute mark that distress call will be set.
So you're not monitoring the temperature, you're just saying if somebody's in the car and the windows are up,
Correct.
we have a problem.
And we can explore, temperature sensors and things like that if there's a need for that.
And as far as the windows being rolled down, many people think if you crack a window, it will alleviate some of that heat. It's a 3-degree difference if you crack a window. Now, if you roll down all 4 windows, that's a substantial difference. But cracking a window, so like you said, if you're monitoring if the windows are open or not, they would need to be, like our device would roll the windows completely down, because the cracking the window doesn't really have too much of an effect on the temperature.
Two questions. One just in terms of the heating pad form factor. How does that differentiate between just any weight bearing versus the child? You talk about a child present. How are you differentiating? Sometimes you could just throw things back there.
Sure.
And that could create a false positive. So how are you differentiating, or are you differentiating? We're just making the assumption that the parents are doing a good job keeping it away from the chair.
Right, yeah, we've kind of gone with that assumption that, if the parents are going to pack their groceries into the child safety seat, well, it's kind of on them to be aware that this is how the system works.
Fair enough. The second question was around the use case being, generally thinking about the hot weather, right? Is the other side, which is in the winter,
Sure.
when it's cold.
Sure.
And having some of the alarms or mechanisms being bringing the windows down, there's a freezing factor too. So have you thought through that?
Well, I think as far as the freezing factor, I'm not sure how quickly that temperature rapidly decreases in a vehicle, because it's variable heat within the vehicle. People have their heats at different level, right? So the temperature will be different for each person initially, but that's something we would definitely be able to explore. And like we mentioned, that temperature gauge inside the vehicle, that's something that is certainly very feasible and not very too difficult to implement. So that would kind of hopefully address that case. Both cases, whether it's they're going to suffer from hyperthermia, which is our heat stroke, or hypothermia. So those are the two cases we could definitely address.
Okay.
And did you say who your client is? Are you selling this to the car seat manufacturers, or do you believe this is a direct-to-consumer product?
Yeah, initially we've considered direct-to-consumer. There might be some opportunity for partnership with the either vehicle manufacturers to, rather than having this kind of separate OBD2 device that plugs into the car, maybe this functionality is integrated into the actual device. There's all these navigation systems nowadays. But yeah, right, initially we were looking at selling through an online website and reaching out to local retailers.
You have a patent on this combined technology
No,
approach?
I'm sorry, no. We're still kind of in the idea getting to a prototype phase.
Okay,
So you haven't priced it?
Well, you did price it, huh? You have some pricing.
Yes, we're looking at using commodity hardware, so things, sensors that are kind of cheap, easily available. So there's a number of platforms, Arduino, there's also something called Raspberry Pi, and these are really kind of prototyping, rapid prototyping chips that you can get for $10, $15 online. Now, as far as the whole mechanical side, so we go, we obviously need a mechanical or plastics engineer to develop the pad part, and then to wrap the electronic parts inside some kind of casing or things like that. But that's a little bit further down the line for us.
The prices here are for your bill of material, isn't what you're gonna sell it for, right?
Right.
This is to demonstrate.
Correct.
that-
If you said, right now, we need you to put this together, we would say, okay, we're gonna need that exact amount of money, and we can put one together.
I want to ask one other question about the call to 911. What triggers that?
It's a time requirement.
A time requirement. So if the parent leaves the child away for how long, or you will determine it as to what you feel is appropriate?
Yeah, that's something I think engaging with users, doing surveys and things like that to sort of see what they think is the right sort of time to make these calls. That would be sort of our next step.
So you guys commented on, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'll just do three tiers of notification, right? The first tier was,
Comparing two key in your keys condition and opening the door at that
Okay.
auditorium was letting you know that, hey, the keys are in
okay,
the
then vacating, the parent vacating
Right.
is the second, and
Right.
then there's the final.
the extended elapsed time.
So I'm asking this question out of ignorance, but you sort of see a lot of IoT and a lot of wearables sort of being developed. And you commented a little bit about the competitive tension that we have with other folks doing something similar. What's your thoughts about somebody creating something that's different that performs the same function? Being fictitious, a wristband around a kid that all of a sudden can actually gauge the temperature and do something similar. What's your thought about your product competing with the trends in the IoT world?
So we'll both answer that, but as far as wearable baby goods, I wouldn't be too keen on having an electronic monitor on a baby personally. But as far as consumers, I'm not sure how that would sell. When it comes to baby products, in my opinion, I think what sells is safety and ease of use. So if this is something if you can change car seat to car seat, vehicle to vehicle, and be able to use it universally, I think that would sell rather than having some sort of device that stays on a child. Personally, that's my thoughts. And Josh, you can speak to it.
I haven't. I don't really have experience in the baby wearables market, so I'm not sure that I have much to say in terms of how we go against a product like that.
Relative to channel access, I understand this is a product, and have you thought about strategic partnerships through things like insurance companies where they could actually give discounts if you buy this product?
Sure, that's an excellent idea.
Yeah, so we've Ryan is a full-time police officer, so we're thinking the community engagement can come through the police and fire forces. So in Lowell, in the community of Lowell, the fire departments actually run installation clinics for new parents. They bring their car seats there and they show them proper ways to install it and how the baby should see it in for safety. So we're thinking about engaging with those communities and hopefully reaching out to the community.
Who is your target audience? Let's say it's a consumer and a parent. I can't imagine ever leaving my child in the car, okay? And so I think this is trying to solve the people who would. How do you target those people? Could you just tell me who you're targeting and how you target them?
Yeah, so we couldn't really find much data on people who use existing child reminder devices. So we did our own survey. We surveyed parents, and we asked them, would you use something like this? And the response largely came back as the number one answer was, yes, this would never happen to me. So there have been research, sociology researchers who have shown, people think when they see a headline about a child being left in a hot car that that is due to neglect or irresponsibility, but it actually turns out that these are loving, caring parents that these tragedies are happening to. So we think by, you know, educating the consumers about that yes, you know, this could happen to you, it does happen to you. A few of our headlines in the presentation: hospital CEO, Florida fireman left their, so this happens to real people who typically you don't associate with being sort of absent-minded.
Time's up, guys.
Thanks a lot for your time.
Nice
very
job.
much.
Nice
Thank
job.
you
Very much.
Very
Thank you.